any fence, there was usually one side or the other. So thank you for standing up. But Pastor Hank, this is a very important race we have. What do you think? What are we going to see tonight?
Well, and thank you for the compliment. I thought you were going to April Fool's Day joke me or something, because it is April Fool's Day. People are tired, by the way. Then I realized that it's been a 31-day long march that they had to go through. But to your point, Gene, listen, Lance has been saying it as a prophetic voice for really a long, long time. He's talked about the 7 mountains. He's talked about taking the gates of our city and territories, and he's been talking about getting involved in the different areas of our government, not just on the federal level, but just looking at things, even in our states, our districts. And I think we're beginning to have people hear the sound that God was saying through vessels like Lance. And here's why I say this. We are in a time of Luke 18. We are in a time right now where we have got to use our faith. This is why Jesus said, will the Son of Man find faith when he returns upon the earth? Well, the faith that he was talking about was injustice. The faith that he was talking about is having faith against injustice. Can we really have the God of righteousness and justice do something? He also was talking about faith when there would be a time when judges would begin to step outside of their, you could say, jurisdiction. But here's what we have to also understand. God and his throne is righteousness and justice. The enemy only perverts it or counterfeits it. So what's the enemy trying to do? He's trying to bring unrighteousness and injustice. And what we have to do is take our spiritual authority and begin to get our rightful place. But I want to say this about Wisconsin very quickly. Brett Favre went up there. He's a friend of mine. I know Brett personally. He's a great friend. And he helped to turn the election around. And I believe that there is something different in Wisconsin. They're not the Green Bay Packers for no reason at all. And I think they're going to start sending some of this liberal garbage, including these judges, a-packing.
Well, that'd be great. Let me show you this Trafalgar. Go ahead, Pastor Hank.
Gene, well, and Lance makes a great point, because even today we had a primary election for our mayor who is running for a 4th term. And what we do in our church is I have a young lady who actually went to school. She's brilliant. She even ran for city council. And what we do every election is we provide a voter guide, to your point, I think it was your point, Gene, that literally lists out all the candidates, their track record, how they voted, different information about them, so that people go in, including the judges, knowing, who are these people? How have they ruled? So that this voter guide gives the person an ability to pray and then read it right there and be guided accordingly to what is righteousness and justice. And we do that now. And I'm encouraging every pastor, listen, get a voter guide, to Lance's point, that really educates your people so that when they go in that voting booth, they're not just, leaving it blank. That's not good. Or they're voting for the wrong people. And it's why we have some of these judges that make it through and they're able to serve on the bench and do the nasty things they do.
And we have learned, I think all of America has learned how important school boards are. So that's shined a light all the way down to the school board races. And
yeah, we do that
like
too.
John Amanchukwu and those they're highlighting what's really going on in these races. And so with that being said, now we come back to the Supreme Court. It's an obvious, hey, we need to be involved in that. But that goes even further. Look at this. Brady Penfield tweeted this. This has happened today in Wisconsin. College Republicans at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire were tabling for the April 1st election. A faculty who's supposed to be showing the way how to act, allegedly chair of the English department, came up and flipped the table they were using. Wholly unacceptable behavior for university faculty be engaging towards a registered student organization. University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire and the UW system administrators review the situation, faculty member in question. Now, Rick, I know you had your hand up and I know you got some, but imagine if some MAGA guy came up and flipped a table over. Not that anybody should be flipping a table over except Jesus,
I was wondering if you were going to say that. Yeah.
Great clarification.
You'll need to clarify that. But it's quite a different, but I'm like, wait a minute, you're a universe. Where is the the restraint, these people are, they have no clue. It's like, this is making people leave universities, and parents and grandparents are going, I'm not sending you there. I'll send you down to Patriot Academy, but I'm not going to send you to that school because they're crazy over there. Right. You know, it's amazing what we're dealing with. I mean, and this isn't Harvard or Yale or Princeton, where we copy other people's work to be. Anyway, go ahead, Rick. I know you had a comment.
Well, I think this goes back to what Lance was saying earlier in terms of just the violence of the left and the things that the tactics that they do to win. These are Marxists. Look, they're gonna do these kind of things because that's what they've been trained to do. So there's no doubt about it. Man, we could talk about the whole university problem forever. And you're exactly right. Send your kids to Patriot Academy, not to some left-wing university, and at least get them a year with us so they get grounded. If they are going to go to college, they're grounded when they go, and they can get college credit while they're here. But I have to say, Lance's idea is exactly right, and I want to encourage people. iVoterGuide.com. They do a fantastic job nationally. They don't go all the way down to all the school boards yet, but they're getting there. And to Hank's point, we need churches that will come alongside iVoterGuide.com and help them gather the information on those local races and then plug it into the system so that we can get more and more, deeper and deeper into these races all the way down ballot. But Lance, man, I'm telling you, it was so hard when I ran for Supreme Court to get that in the hands of people. First Liberty, Kelly Shackelford had a voter guide back then, even in that first time I ran, 2010, and it helped a lot because I could show here's the difference in the people in these races, but not enough races do it. And it's about half the states that elect judges and half that don't. And I'll tell you what we're going to run into, because all these judges hide behind this judicial canon of ethics. They act like they've got this high and mighty, I'm holier than thou, I'm better than everybody else, I don't have to answer questions about any of these things. Yes, they do. Supreme Court decision Minnesota v. White, written by Scalia, says not only can they answer those questions without violating the canon of ethics, we as voters have a right to know where they stand on these things so that we can make good choices of who's going to be in the bench in our local communities in our state. So anyway, all that to say, I think Lance is absolutely right, and maybe that's a great project for Flashpoint Army in this next election for us to help educate people all over the country on these elections of judges in the states that have them.
I think you're right.
That's the fundamental question. Who gets to make the call? Is it the guy whose name was on the ballot, or is it some bureaucrat? Is it the guy who got 77 million votes, or some district judge? The left always says, trust the bureaucrat, trust the judge. It's the Faucis, it's the Boasbergs who get to make the call. After all, they're the experts. They're smarter than we the people. They're smarter than all us hillbillies in flyover country who voted for President Trump. Trust them. That's not how it works. We the people have the power. You know what's interesting? For all the left's talk about democracy, they don't really trust it. Last summer, they kicked their nominee off the ballot without a vote, without an election, and they put someone else on the ballot without a vote, without an election. So, of course, they like some judge issuing orders or injunctions that stop the head of the executive branch from doing what he said he was going to do when he ran for the job and when the American people elected him. Think about it. Here in D.C., an elected judge thinks she's better equipped to determine military readiness than the commander-in-chief. An unelected judge in California thinks he gets to decide how many probationary employees work in the executive branch, not the guy who was elected to run the executive branch. Another unelected federal district judge here in D.C. thinks he gets to decide how long illegal gang member terrorists stay in our country. Not the president, not the commander-in-chief. And now that same judge gets randomly assigned the Hegseth case, and he'll get to determine who the Secretary of Defense can talk to and how he has to do it, not the president. I think Americans see through this all.
I think they do too, Rick. Come on, this is crazy stuff. I mean, when Boasberg came out there and came again, turn the plane around. Of course, Trump in his infinite wisdom goes, sorry, international waters, can't do that, don't have any power. This really is crazy that but is this just how broke the system is, or is this just the left grasping at straws?
Yeah, yes to both. But listen, I think you could play that Jim Jordan clip like 5 more times before the show's over tonight. Every word he said, spot on. In fact, I think he must be watching Flashpoint, because everything he said with this panel right here, we've all said all of those things for the last few months, especially the part about who decides. You know, Gene, that's what we pound into Patriot Academy students. Every policy, every law, everything comes down to those 2 words. Who decides? Does it give more power to bureaucrats or to the individual? Who decides? The pastor or Fauci, whether you're going to open your church? Who decides? These experts that Jordan's talking about, or the American people? Now, there are times that government should decide. That's why you create government, to go make some of those decisions, like national defense and that sort of thing. But most of the time, it should be up to us. And then when we get into a fight over which government, so if government, then which government? Is it this unelected judge, or is it this president elected by the American people? I think Jordan put that so well. And again, I think the left pushes so far, they don't realize they're waking up more and more people to realize how out of control the judiciary is, which gives all of us at the Flashpoint Armor the opportunity to educate those new people and help right the ship and restore liberty in our country.
Amen. Amen. All right, let me give you an update here. Some counties are reporting that they're allegedly running out of ballots in Wisconsin. We'll see if that's truth. Hence the term allegedly. Lance, look at this. You're international. Marine Le Pen, French far right, CNN Post.
No, wait, Gene. Listen,
I'm on a
if
time
they're
frame.
running,
if
they're I know, but if they're running out of ballots in Wisconsin, that means that our guy is winning.
That's true.
Fill in the blank for people that may not know what you just said.
That's true.
They are so corrupt in some of these precincts that they will missize the ballot, they will manipulate the ballot, they will have fraudulent ballots, or they just flat out don't have any more.
Yeah.
It tells you that's a good sign. Now go ahead. Let's talk about France.
Yeah.
All right. CNN reports French far-right leader Le Pen banned from running in 2027 presidential election. I'm doing my Lance thing again. Watch this.
France's far-right leader Marine Le Pen banned from standing for public office for the next 5 years. That is the result of the verdict and sentencing read out at this Paris court this Monday morning that will have huge implications for the 2027 presidential election here in France. Not only had Marine Le Pen been intending to stand, but she had, according to the polls, been leading in that race. Not only has she been banned from standing for public office for the next 5 years, as part of her sentencing, she will also receive a 2-year suspended sentence and a 2-year sentence that will be served at home with an electronic bracelet. She's also been fined. This is the result of a court case that goes back to her time as an MEP. The allegations were that she had used money that should have gone to using parliamentary assistance and had used them to fund party workers instead. Marine Le Pen and several of her most prominent MEPs found guilty, but the biggest news of today regards that, her ineligibility to stand for public office and what that will mean for the next French presidential election.
Well, in France, she will be fighting it, and we're going to watch it. Does this sound familiar? Look at Mike Benz post this. Marine Le Pen in France, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Imran Khan in Pakistan, Matteo Salvini in Italy, Donald Trump in America, Georgescu in Romania. The criminal prosecution of every populist challenger is a dagger in the heart of the credibility of the democracy. Lance, so it's not just America that's dealing with this. This is a global issue. We know this. We've been, during COVID, we were all watching the World Economic Forum in shock, utter shock of watching the world respond to crazy people as if they were brilliant. Come on, what are we going to do?
I'm going to make a prediction.
Go ahead.
I'm going to make a prediction, Gene. 4 years of Donald Trump not being in office did not serve the purpose of the left. They tried to take him out, bankrupt him, lock him up, keep him off the ballot, etc. Here's my prediction. God is doing a work. We're looking for revival, and he's giving us reformation. Reformation is when he takes the crooked places, makes them straight, the high places, and levels them down. It's just as much a part of the Elijah mantle to do the construction project as it is the baptism of repentance. This is going to backfire. What they did in Romania is actually stoking the fires of populist outrage. What they did in Brazil is stoking the fires of populist we used the word backlash. many times over the last 4 or 5 years. It happened when Trump ran again. After the assassination attempt, that was it. Something snapped psychically in America. I believe in France, what they've done is so obvious. It's the same playbook. Let's go back and do a forensic evaluation of the last 10 years. Let's find some fiscal anomaly that we can, a tax record or something. Let's blow it up in the media. Let's take them to court so that they cannot run. And I believe in France, as in Romania, this is feeding the rise of a populist outrage, and it's setting up revival, because this Reformation really is like there's a right and a wrong, and there's a people in the ordinary streets and working class that I keep talking about that are saying that's not right, that's leading them to a righteous moment of revelation regarding Christ.
All right, so that's very good, Lance. What do you think, Pastor Hank? Yeah, you agree with that, leading us right into the throes of revival?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I'm not moved by things in the earth. Not when you're in what God's been saying is a global reset and a renaissance. Matthew 9:33. We have never so seen this in all of Israel. Can it happen again in a nation like France? All right. You got to go back to May 23rd of 2021. The Spirit of God prophesied through this vessel. And he said, there's two that I've put my hand upon in my anointing. I speak of Netanyahu and President Trump. This is 2021. Netanyahu was in the height of calling him a criminal. They were wanting to lock him up in jail. President Trump, people kept saying, oh, he'll never come back, writing hate mail, accusing the Lord's words as being false, yet God said both these men would come back. Here they are today. Here's what we have to learn. You know, we talked about last night whether President Trump gets a third term. Is it possible? You can argue all day long, and I'm not going to get into the discussion of last night, if and when, or should he, or is it possible. What I'm going to say is this. We have got to stop treating things as it's permanent. In other words, just because they said this in France, does it mean she's never going to have a chance again? Listen to me. The Red Sea wasn't permanent. God opened it up. Jericho, the walls looked impenetrable. They fell. This is the season of global reset and renaissance. And I'm here to tell you, God is writing something through Le Pen. It's not over.
It's not over, indeed. Something else that's not over is what's going on with President Trump, Zelensky, and Putin. Jason, let's roll that News Nation clip about Zelensky's got some problems. Watch this.
Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
When Trump says he got big problems, I mean, I think everybody has a lot of ideas of what that could possibly mean. Let me show you this. This is Finland President Alexander Stubb. Only Trump can mediate this. Watch.
The discussions I had with President Trump in Florida are basically, two very simple messages. Number one, he is probably the only person in the world who can mediate the peace between Ukraine and Russia. Why? Because Putin respects and in many ways fears Donald Trump. Secondly, the point I had was that we need a ceasefire, and we need a date for the ceasefire. And that date should be the 20th of April. And if President Putin, who's the only one who's not accepting a ceasefire, because Americans wanted, the Europeans wanted, the Ukrainians wanted, if he doesn't oblige by the ceasefire, then we should go for a colossal set of sanctions coming from the United States and Europe.
All right, so let's go around the room. Rick, what do you think? What will be the response here? Is Zelensky's doing his little whiny thing, no, I'll do it, no, I won't. He's coming to the point where he's going to get stuck, and I believe that he's got problems is probably a really nice way to put it. Where do you think this ends?
If there is anyone on the planet that I would not want to renege on whatever deal points I agreed to in negotiations, it's Donald Trump. I cannot imagine what in the world Zelensky's thinking. But listen, the guy's been a joke from the beginning. If anybody watched any of the clips from his other career before he fell, the only reason he's been able to be this international darling is because of the ineptitude and incompetence of Joe Biden. That's the only reason Zelensky's been able to ride this. And the gravy train's over. All the money that he's pocketed personally and his family's enjoyed, it's done. And so he's just mad that Donald Trump is ending his little party. I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to actually renege on the deal. I'm so glad to hear Trump very bluntly say NATO is not on the table. It never was.
Good.
Joe Biden was the only one that dangled that foolishly. And so anyway, very, very good, I think, for us as a nation to stop funding and for Donald Trump to be able to take this position. But I think Zelensky's been a fool from the beginning. It's just getting exposed because now you have an actual brain in the White House.
Yeah. All right, Lance, get you to comment on that. Then I got a video from Wisconsin that I want to show. Go ahead.
Okay,
Zelensky.
so here's hot off the press today. Donald Trump revealed something. Putin is reading it very closely. Trump says he's angry with Vladimir Putin. This is going to get Putin's attention. He's playing games with the negotiation, and he's angry also with Zelensky. He's not only the peacemaker, he is the ruler. And right now, in terms of 40% or 50% of consumption is coming from the United States. And here's what Trump's doing, something Biden didn't do. He's saying, I'll put a 20, 30, 40, 50% tariff on everything coming out of Russia. I will crush them economically. No more oil going out of Russia, and not only to us, but to our allies. That's what I'm going to do. He's threatening to disrupt the Russian economy. And then he's turning around and saying Zelensky, he's angry with Zelensky. So what you've got now is Trump in the perfect negotiating state of mind, because he's going to rattle the cage with both of them, because he doesn't want to look bad. He doesn't want to look like he can't get the deal done, and he doesn't want to be played games with. And these guys are playing games, and he's the wrong Brooklyn, Queens developer to play games with when he's got a building project.
It's like the kids have been playing with each other and daddy's home. It's time, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so I said allegedly running out of ballots. Guess what? Watch.
All right, well, the polls are closing at 8 p.m. It is Election Day after all. Now, we do have some breaking news to pass along. Some locations are experiencing ballot shortages due to the higher voter turnout. Election officials are telling people to stay in line, not to leave. They are right now working to bring more ballots to those certain locations that are impacted. Election officials expect those results to come in after midnight. And we're going to have all of the results on the WISN app and tonight on 12 News at 10.
Now, CNN's reporting this too. I mean, it's on multiple outlets. So here we go, Pastor Hank, running out of ballots. You know, they're writing them on napkins now.
Listen, Gene, I think, and now I'm going to do Lance. Listen, Gene, I think they're running out of crazy excuses. Remember when they were going the Republican areas to vote? All of a sudden the machines, those machines were having electrical power outages and we couldn't get them to work. Oh, I guess your vote doesn't count. The next thing they're going to say, what, some meteorite threat, it's going to happen? They're getting more and more ridiculous. It's getting more and more obvious. But here's what we have to remember. Justice is upon this country, and it has to be, or happens to be a higher justice, God's justice. And I believe as much as they try to do this stuff, as they continue to push it forth, God's going to resist it, and we're going to start seeing things turn around, and sanity's going to come back again. And I believe this. Truth.
I believe
Truth
you're
and
right.
justice.
All right, Rick, what do you think?